Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel and thanks for tuning in. It's another soggy day here on the farm. I mean, just to show you, we've been harvesting some timber this winter and this site has been unworkable for over a month. We've gotten so much rain and so much snow. But despite that, last week we had a dry day, so we were able to get out in the field. We were cutting down a dead standing oak and a dead standing ash out of a neighbor's yard, which was good because we were able to cut the small stuff up and get some firewood for the family. And apparently Will is salvaging the trunk section of that oak into a hand-hewn beam, which I haven't seen yet, so in a few minutes we'll run down and see what he's doing. But for now, here's the video of us taking down those trees. It's another day of felling. Here's the candidates for today. It's about, what do you say, Will, 20 inch?
Yeah, close to it.
Yeah, 20 inch red oak, which has been dead standing for a couple years, so we're gonna send it over top the driveway. And then there's a little bit smaller ash back here, which obviously has been dead for a while, and it's gotta go too. Which way are we sending them?
Both are going this way, trying to send them into the yard, away from anybody, anything that could hurt here. All right, so we're gonna cut this oak today, and when you're cutting a dead tree, you always wanna test it with your axe or your hatchet and just make sure that it's solid. This guy's pretty solid. He hasn't been dead for too long, so I'm not too worried. The cut that we're gonna do on this guy is called a Humboldt cut, and a normal face cut is you cut in flat and then you cut your pie out at an angle upwards. Where the Humboldt is just an angle downwards instead of an angle upwards, and it does two things. It preserves a lot of the wood because it gives you a flat cut, so if you're trying to make this into something and mill it or hew it or whatever, it preserves a lot of the wood a lot better than if you did a normal face cut. Also, a Humboldt cut is a much safer cut because what the Humboldt does is it gives you a flat surface against an angled surface, and so when this tree comes down, it's going to push off this angled surface and push it this way, and it's going to have this butt of the tree will land on the ground first, and so that's going to distribute a lot of the load into the ground, and so that'll help us from not getting the tree to break the driveway here. It'll also keep the tree from wanting to come back and hit the faller like you get on a normal face cut where you have that angled slope that's going back, and so hopefully it'll be a much safer cut and we'll get this guy down safely.
It's a good thing it's not windy. Tap her down. Timber. Attaboy.
It did exactly what I wanted it to do, so that's good.
Now the fun part. We get to clean it all up.
You see how this guy, his flat face, dropped against this guy, and it put this butt on the ground first, which puts most of the load into the ground here, and it doesn't put it right into the driveway where we don't want it. So that's why I did a Humboldt cut, so hopefully it would take the load and put it in the ground rather than in the driveway, and everything worked out pretty well. Looks like we got a good driveway.
Well, that's it. The wood house, the custom wood house. Yeah. So the idea is you can stack a bunch of wood in tight, and then it's on a pallet, so we can just pick it up with forks and move it around. Prototype number one.
Yeah. This is what you call rough sawn.
Yeah. That's nice. Time to take the ash down.
Right.
No. Yeah, there she goes. Perfect. Well, that's that. Now let's go see what Will's working on. Hey, Will, what are you getting into?
I'm just trying to hew this oak here. This is the first hand hewn beam that I've ever done. And I'm trying to get everything straight and flat and square and everything. But it's pretty cool. This is how the pioneers used to make the timbers that they'd use for a lot of their timber framing and log cabins and that kind of thing. And this one is an oak piece. You take your chalk line well, first you draw out on the side of on the end of the board kind of where you want or what dimension of the board you want. And this is, I just kind of did it rough, and actually I did on the other side, so you can't see it on this side, but I just kind of did rough dimensions. And then I take off the bark down a strip, and I snap a chalk line from each dimension, and then I get up on top of the timber and I start to make these kind of cuts, indentations in.
Are you making you're making those into the chalk line?
Yeah, I make those into the chalk line. This is just a black, you can see I don't know if you guys can see the black line there.
Yeah.
And then I just basically make them probably a little bit deeper than that line. And I go down the line and do one, depending on the timber, 2 feet to 1 foot, the spacings. Oak is pretty tough, so I usually do about 1 foot, but pine and softer woods you can do with larger spacings. And then once you have that, you do what's called hewing to the line, where the expression comes from. And essentially, you're just going down, and you can stand to the side. I like to stand on top of the timber, and you're just taking out in between these little indentations. And first you want to do it just rough. You want to just get close to the line, and you're taking out most of the material. And then you come back, and if you have a broad axe, or you can do it with just a forestry axe like this one, then you could do what's really called hewing to the line, and you're shaping the timber up to make it square, and you're getting it close to the dimensions that you want it. Now this is a rough hewn beam, so the dimensions won't be perfect, and I want it to be that way, so I want you to be able to see the character and make it look a little bit more rustic than a perfectly square beam, because those are easy to find versus finding a beam that's done by hand is hard to find. And so essentially what you're doing here when you're removing a lot of material is just going down, and you see it'll come out pretty easy. If you have your spacings right, it should come out pretty easy. And then as you get closer to the line, you just let it be for now. And I like to get all my big material removed, and then I'll come back and I'll do a fine tuning of it and make it look nice and get everything straight and flat and square. We'll see how this guy turns out, but he's looking good and I'm excited.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm excited to see the finished product. All right, guys, that's it for us today. Thanks for tuning in. If you like this video, comment, like, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.